What's up, everybody? In this video, I'll be showing my internal operations, the automations that we use, the campaigns, the clay tables, and all sorts of different things that we're using internally to build lists. And so, as you can see with my Chrome extension over here, we've got 14 list building tasks. And so, how am I actually working on these list building tasks? And so, what that looks like on the back end is that we have all of the list building tasks pop up over here. So this is across all of our clients. And so I've actually got a bunch of filters over here to just show one client, but we would have a long list of campaigns, right? And then we have these analytics that are coming from our smart lead campaign. So we're able to see the positive replies, how many of these are transferred, how many sequences are in these campaigns, how many prospects, what's the ratio. How we're getting all of this stuff is with this campaign analytics. So every single day, this is running, getting all of the campaigns, and then adding the analytics into our ClickUp account, leveraging this. And so this is what it would look like as an example. And so we would update the status, update the due date, the not started, the list source, the list building status, all of these different things. We would add that into this over here. And so this is like daily updated data that we can leverage. Now, when we're talking about list building, this is the SOPs. And so I actually don't really write down any SOPs. I try to systemize all of the different things and then just put them into simple to leverage workflows, and you'll see how that works. But when it comes to 14 list building tasks, okay, so what do? We first of all need to determine whether we're building a new list or we're building an existing lead list. And so how do we determine that? We actually just look at the analytics over here. And so we'll look at this over here. We see 1 in 754. We look at another one, 1 in 75, 1 in 303, 1 in 86, 1 in infinity. We're able to look at all of these different things. And then based on that, based on our experience working with a bunch of clients, we're able to make a determination as to whether we want to follow up with the leads. Now, I do add here that the follow-ups is 2 of 3, 3 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. By the way, how that's working is that when we're adding the analytics, we're also able to gather the sequence. So this follow-ups sequence count, 1 of 3, right? And so if we've already created a sequence that has more than 3 steps, then we don't need to create another sequence. And so if you're curious what that means, by the way, this is what it means, right? So we have a lead list inside Smart Lead that says 1,226. If we were to add a sequence, so a third step, a follow-up, then the lead list would stay the same, but these people would get an additional follow-up. And so the way that I like to build my campaigns is one sequence at a time, see what's working, and then create the follow-ups. And then once I see what's working in the follow-ups, I create another one. As an example, we've got 2 campaigns over here. We created email 1, A, B, C, D, all the way up until F. We noticed that only one of these were working. And then where do we actually get the follow-ups? And so if we look at email 2, we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you notice that the follow-ups are doing better. The reason the follow-ups are doing better is because we're actually getting the follow-ups from other campaigns that we ran. And so for one client, we might run tons of different campaigns, see what works, and then once we see what works, we bring it into the failed campaigns so that we can reach out to the exact same people that we had already reached out to with better campaigns. And so you notice email 1 failed, but email 2 did better because we reached out to these people with campaigns we already knew would work. And so we go to email 3, we tried something else, and then you'll notice that email 3 performed better. It's not because we're doing a better email 3, it's because we're doing an email 1 from another campaign that did significantly better. And so you'll notice over here, email 1, this one just crushed. Like we found a winning campaign here really quickly, and then we followed up with email 2, and then we tested a bunch of other stuff in email 3. But that's how we're doing this stuff. And so we do a whole bunch of email 1s, and then we grab email 2s, we create email 2s from email 1s in other lists. And so when it comes to determining whether we're going to be building a brand new list or an existing list, we would look at the sequences. So the follow-ups, if it's 1 of 3, we would know. And so for these ones, these are actually getting like crazy numbers, 1 in 75, 1 in 86, but we wouldn't necessarily be trying to add follow-ups to this. What we would actually be doing is, because we've already reached the maximum follow-ups that's allowed, it would automatically be added as a new lead list. We don't need to create a follow-up, right? So that's one of the determinations, right? And so once we've determined that it's going to be a brand new lead list, we then look at these stats and we determine whether this is the campaign that we want to run or whether we want to run another campaign. And so we're getting 1 in 75, but this is 1 in 75 with a lot of inefficiencies. And so you'll notice that email 1C got nobody, email 1E got nobody, and then in email 2 we got only a few of these that worked, and then in email 3 we got a lot of inefficiencies. And so when we come back to this, when we've determined that it's a new lead list, we're then going to further determine whether it's a new campaign or we're going to add the new lead list to the existing campaign. And in these instances, I've personally determined that we can get better than 1 in 75 because we have so much inefficiencies. And so that's where the next step comes into play. We change the list building status from to do to a stopped, if that's the case. And so we can do stopped, and then as a consequence, we create a brand new campaign that's a variation of this existing campaign, but this time around, we only work with the winners. And so this time around, we're trying to shoot for something better than 1 in 75, 1 in 86, etc. Okay, so now we've accomplished this half of this section of it. Now let's look at the existing lead list. And so if we're going to be doing an existing lead list, we're then actually going to be leveraging the list source that we put here. And so this list source can be an Apollo URL. So this is an example of an Apollo URL. The benefit of doing it like this, by the way, is because we can make custom searches. So you'll notice like we've got industry keywords. And by the way, this is like huge. Like look at this, right? Let's do include keywords, clothing, fashion, boom, 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 boom. This might actually take us like 30 minutes to input all of these different things. And you can obviously save it, but the problem with saving it is that you forget which campaign it's linked to, which client it's linked to. All of these different things are no longer in the mix. And so the way that I've actually found to be the most effective is just grabbing the URL and then linking it to the specific campaign so that we can add it to the clay table that's also linked to the campaign URL. And so we add the list source here. So the way that I just entered it, that's how it would be added. And then we go to the clay table. And so when I click on the clay table, it's going to come here. And this is the campaign that's associated with this. And so from here, all I would need to do is just import. And when I import, I would be importing the exported lead list that came from here because as you can see, the list source is Apollo. And so we just go to the net new section. So we go to the net new section, export a bunch of leads. Once we've exported a bunch of leads, we go here, import that into this specific campaign, and then it's going to do some email verification, all of these different things, and then finally add it to the specific campaign that is already here. And all of the tables, by the way, so I'm using a master campaign table, which you can also just download completely for free at afonto.com/automations. It's basically the same table that I use for every single campaign. You could just download that. And so boom, we've gotten the list source. Once we've gotten the list source, we add it to the clay table. It goes to the campaign URL. Okay, that's one of the things. Another example of a list source that we use is clay local, clay jobs, and literally any source, because we could just add it here and then add a URL to that. And so it could be any source that we want, but we basically want to remember it. And so an example of this is we've got a Google Maps scrape where it's basically able to scrape dozens of pages for Google Maps. And so I'll show you an example of this. We've got a car dealership here, another car dealership here. And so across the US, we're able to basically get the dealerships for these lists. And so for one of the campaigns, we could just have this specific clay table linked. And then when we need to add lists, we just go here and then we just click to run. And then at the very end of this, it's going to be writing to the tables. And so it writes to the specific table for the specific campaign. And so that's one example of a list source. Another one is clay jobs, which, yeah, like, oh, actually, I guess I don't have a table open for it. But the way that the clay jobs works is if you were to go to overview, you could do like find jobs, find companies, find people. So all of these are different things that you can do to basically have a list source. And so this is just a people table we would grab this URL here, go to the list building section over here, and then just add that as something that we're going to come back to. And so we don't have to mess around and try to figure out what we're going to be doing, all of that stuff. And so when we go back to the list building SOPs, we've determined that it's an existing lead list that we're going to be using. Once we've determined that it's an existing lead list, we're going to determine the location of the lead list by simply just clicking on the URL that we've already inputted. And then we just add the leads. And so as I just shown, you basically, oh, that would not work. You would basically just click run. You like this over here, you would just click run. If it was this, we would go back to if it was this, we would import profiles. Actually, not even do that. We would just probably go to sources, find people, and then just edit source and then add more people like this, right? And so this is an example of that. You can also have it be automated, so it reoccurs and adds more people every single day. There's many ways, but this is the fundamental way that this works. And so what's powering this is the analytics automation, as I had shown. This is adding the analytics. The next thing that's powering this is, I mean, this does pretty much the same thing. It just, whenever a campaign is added, it just creates the campaign and syncs the analytics. This is also one of our automations for creating campaigns. And so, yeah, all of them really do the same thing. The main things that we're trying to do is linking the data so that we can easily reference it. Okay, so now we're all caught up. We're all on the same page. So let's go ahead and add let's go ahead and disposition some of these. And so as I had shown already, this is 1 in 75, 1 in 86, but we've already gone through 3 of the follow-ups, and we've determined that we actually want to create a brand new campaign. And so the create campaigns, we've already got that taken care of. The campaign is created. Okay, great. Now we can actually add the filters here so that we don't see it here. What was it called? List building status. So this is actually what it normally looks like. Is not completed or stopped. Is not completed or stopped. Okay, so now we've gotten less list building tasks. And so now we can look at these ones. So this one has a 2 of 3 follow-ups, 2 of 3 follow-ups, 1 of 3, 1 of 3, 2 of 3. Now this one that is 1 in 106, it actually doesn't qualify for actually, hold on a second. We would look at this one. Actually, yeah, this is what I was gonna say. We would basically look at the analytics. So for the one that won over here, we would look at what's a good follow-up to these ones that already ran from the ones that already won. And so if you recall, with this one that worked, the follow-ups performed significantly better than the initial one because we got the ideas from the existing campaigns. And so if we're going to be adding a sequence here, we would essentially click on the campaign URL and then look at these campaigns that won and then grab from the winning angles that we felt like were great. And so once we've done that, then we can just go ahead and mark this as list building status completed. And so if we mark it as list building status completed, it's because we've just added an extra follow-up, and because we had, I forget how many prospects, but let's say we had 303 prospects in this, that means that tomorrow 303 emails are going to be sent. And so we would do the same thing for this one. Boom, completed. And then for this one, it's like, this is doing really bad. Maybe let's put this off for a while. And so we would just do postponed, and this is going to come back for the future. And so in the future, when we're working on these list building tasks, we can think of something creative to work with this. And probably a better way to think of that is that it was already 2 of 3 and it still got 0 positive replies. Like, if it's still got 0 positive replies and we've already done 2 sequences, then that means that we need to really sit down and think about that. And so that way we would just postpone it. And then this one is 4 and 71. We might have enough sending capacity for tomorrow. So let's just postpone this, and let's also postpone this. And we've already got the other emails ready to go. And so that's my list building process. Hope that was helpful. Cheers.